3 bread recipes, a bread loaf, garlic knots, and pizza crust. Coming up next. So first what you're going to need is KETONIA Keto Bread Mix. It's a low-carb bread mix to make simple pizza crust, which I will link down below. Thank you, KETONIA, for sponsoring today's pizza crust recipe. You're also going to go ahead and need some instant yeast or active yeast, 1 cup of water, 1 teaspoon of honey, and 2 eggs. So first get your KETONIA Keto Bread Mix and also organize your supplies of 1 cup of warm water. Go ahead and put it into a bowl. We're also going to go ahead and take our active dry yeast. I'm using 1.2 tablespoons of active dry yeast, but you could use 1 tablespoon of instant yeast if you happen to have that in your pantry instead. We're going to go ahead and mix that together in the warm water along with a teaspoon of the honey and let those ingredients get mixed together, and I'll let it sit for about 5 minutes while all of that gets together and the warm water starts to activate the instant yeast or the active yeast together. So mix all of those ingredients together. While you're putting those together, again, make sure you click down below in the description link to get the KETONIA Keto Bread Mix. It makes for a super low carb recipe or a keto recipe, but you can't tell that it's low carb. It tastes absolutely delicious. So go ahead and put your 2 eggs together into your pizza crust mix. Get it nice and mixed together, and then add your bread mix, 1 pouch of the bread mix together for your pizza crust. We're simply going to go ahead and knead this pizza crust for about 10 to 15 minutes. Just keep kneading it together and putting it into a ball format. Once you've kneaded it for 10 to 15 minutes with your pizza crust, you're going to go ahead and cover it with a towel and let it sit for about 30 minutes. You're going to come back, go ahead and shape it back into a ball again and let it sit for another 30 minutes, so a total of 1 hour sitting. While it's doing that, grab some parchment paper. I love parchment paper because it makes for an easy recipe with your pizza crust not sticking. Then go ahead and take your pizza crust and we're going to mix it into 3 different small shapes of pizza crust. We're going to go ahead and freeze the other half of this. It's really simple to freeze. You simply just make it into a small ball, take some olive oil, coat the outside of it, put it into a Ziploc bag, and put it in your freezer so you can have easy pizza crust dough that's fresh later on. Literally, you would just take that frozen ball out the night before, and then you can have fresh pizza crust the next day if you want to make this for easy meal prep. Super, super simple. So we're going to go ahead and put that to the side. And we're going to go ahead and make 3 small pizza crusts out of them, simply stretching our dough and putting it onto our parchment paper. While I'm doing this, I have preheated my oven to 400 degrees and I will cook these 3 pizza crusts for 20 minutes together. Again, making them very, very small shapes because it's a fluffy dough that will come out. I personally like very fluffy dough for my pizza crust. So there's 3 different ones, and then we're going to go ahead and top your pizza crust with whatever type of topping you want. If you want pepperoni or fresh mozzarella, or if you want sausage or pineapple or ham or a Hawaiian pizza, but these make for fresh, delicious pizza crust for you. Super, super easy. So I'm just adding my pizza crust. Kids could actually help you with this dinner if you wanted an easy dinner. And I'm using some of my sliced mozzarella cheese. I like it as opposed to shredded cheese. Pick whatever your preference is. You could throw some pepperoni on there, some ham on there. Put that back into the oven and put it on the broiler setting for 2 minutes to make sure the cheese gets melted and ooey gooey. It tastes absolutely amazing. And again, I ended up using 2 different types of balls of dough together. You're going to put a little bit of olive oil on it, and you can put it in your freezer. I love La Quinto olive oil. It's absolutely delicious. Put a little bit on your hands, coat the second dough ball, put it in a Ziploc bag, and then you can put it in your freezer. When you use it next, you simply just take out your bread dough ball and you'll put it in the refrigerator overnight, and then you can cook and make bread with it the next day or next time you want to use it. So this is a simple recipe. You end up getting 2 loaves of bread out of this easy recipe. So I went ahead and sprayed my pan with a little bit of ghee oil. You can use whatever to coat your pan, and I did end up putting my second loaf, my bread loaf dough ball in there, and I covered it again with another towel and left it sitting there for a second round of 30 minutes to, again, this is gonna let the yeast rise, and I did pulling it a little bit to the shape and size of the loaf that I wanted it to be, and then again, covered that for 30 minutes with a towel. Then I had preheated my oven at this point for 400 degrees, and I'm gonna go ahead and cook that dough ball for 30 minutes at 400 degrees. Bread making from scratch does not have to be complicated. This is such an easy bread recipe to do, and literally it's just putting a towel over and covering with the bread mix. So go ahead, cook your bread. Gonna cook it for 30 minutes in the oven at 400 degrees. Take your bread out and let it cool for another 20 minutes, and then you can slice up your bread. You can make sandwich bread out of these. I love making sandwiches because the slices of the bread can be really, really thin and very, very simple. Again, that KETONIA keto bread mix, I will link in the description link below, as it makes the best bread and you actually get 2 bread loaves out of it. I'm gonna shape the ball into a loaf and place it into a pan and cover for another 30 minutes. Since I'm not making a loaf, I'm making garlic knots, I just left it in the ball shape. I did spray down some avocado spray on parchment paper, which I will link down below, and that's how I shaped the garlic knot size. I did garlic knots and then just regular rolls for part of it, but you can see you just literally take a piece of the dough and twist it all together and let that sit. See, there's the little roll sizes as well. In the meantime, I'm getting my oven preheated for 400 degrees. I am gonna let that sit for another 30 minutes covered with a towel, and I baked them for 30 minutes. And while it was baking, I went outside to get some fresh parsley. I did get 1/4 a cup of fresh parsley, and I'm gonna use some 3 tablespoons of butter and then 2 whole cloves of garlic. I'm gonna saute those together in a pan because this is gonna be the top mixture that's gonna go on top of our garlic knots with the fresh garlic, fresh parsley. If you don't have fresh parsley or fresh garlic, just use the powdered kind. That's totally fine. So I have my rolls. I let them come out of the oven. I put my mixture together, my garlic and butter mixture, and then I just started literally using with a little paintbrush, a cooking paintbrush, to put it on. That's actually a sauce. Putting it all on top, and that sauce is so good for the garlic and butter sauce. Look how appetizing that is. It can stay in the refrigerated for 2 to 3 days in an airtight container. They're absolutely delicious. You could not ever tell that they were low carb or keto, but this is an easy garlic knot recipe that you can make from home. If you found this video helpful, smash that like button, click subscribe, and check out our other homemade from scratch easy recipes that you can make from your apartment too. Make it a powerful day, friends.